Hi everybody, tonight I would just like to show off Yggdrasil, my DAAD IDE. For those not in the know, DAAD is the engine that I'm using for my game OceanThrill Murder Mystery. It's a graphical point-and-click adventure, and yeah, I figured I'd just show off what I have right here, and we're gonna implement the Cloak of Darkness, which is like a little demo game. We're gonna make it mostly short. I got a lot of stuff that I can just copy paste. First of all, that's kind of a thing here still. In this version, it's still mandatory. We have to pick we have to pick at least one image, otherwise the build process is failing. That's something that I still need to resolve. It's only happening for Amiga, but since that's our main build option here, run is basically the Amiga version that I'm going to show off. Yeah, so we're going to implement the Cloak of Darkness. That's a short free room map. I call it map in here. It originally was based on Drizboard.io, which is a HTML5 version of Drizboard, of the map editor, but I extended it a lot. Version don't really matter. We can set it. Well, doesn't really matter. It's not even being used. So yeah, that's the basic setting. And then here we can actually set the what location, if the location name is being shown on top, if the turn counter is shown on top. We're gonna keep it on. I'm gonna remove it after. Then what we need here is we don't need any special verbs. We can just use the basic verbs that are already in there. And then we're gonna use trampled. It's also automatically setting this here. I think the maximum flag was 223 or something. I don't remember the exact count. Quite a high count. Right. So this is basically just a Boolean flag. Not a Boolean flag. Well, actually, I need to rename this. Boolean doesn't actually make sense in this case. Just flags, because this is not a Boolean flag. We're gonna set this to 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think when I created this first. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we create the first room. The first room is gonna be the foyer. And the subtitle is gonna be Foyer of the Opera House. And this is our starting room. And then what connects to it, we're gonna put another room in. What connects to the west of it is our cloakroom. And we can even choose a different shape. It's not going to be used for the actual game or anything. It's just nice to have. We can also set room images here. Again, I'm going to use the same one. I'm going to remove that after, but just to show how this works. So for Amiga, you need a special format, special size for the image. Yeah, and it's best to have it indexed beforehand. But yeah, that's how it shows up. We can also disable this in settings. So what was it? There. Yeah, but that's just for previews. And then there's like little tool tips as well. But we're gonna remove that again. Don't need an image here. So now we're gonna put the room description in for the foyer. Let me see. Once again, I have that already. You're standing in a spacious hall, splendidly decorated in red and gold, with glittering chandeliers overhead. The entrance from the street is to the north, and there are doorways south and west. Right, so there are some implementations where you can actually make the entrance from the north a separate entity, but what we're doing here is just doing it programmatically, blocking the path. And since this is our starting room, we're going to put the cloak in here. And the cloak is an item that we're starting out with wearing. So we make this wearable and we have this worn. Right. It also talks about container objects, which we don't currently use. We use sceneries for the most part. And then we have this little event editor. This I'm actually gonna write down manually. So there's multiple processes in DAAD. We have the process number 5 that basically runs every turn. So that's like perfect for this kind of behavior. So what we're doing here is we first need to create the object, my bad. So in here we have, let me create the cloakroom. Let me finish otherwise it's just gonna be too chaotic. Right. Currently I don't have it set up. Currently it will just tell you all the exits separately, but eventually I would like to make it so that it actually tells you in prose format, just like it's written here. We're keeping it in still, so right. So then we have the object. We have an object called hook, and it's a small brass hook. So here comes the interesting part. So this is not an item, is something you can pick up. An actor is something you can talk to. And the scenery is something that is not pick-upable, not talkable. So that's what this is for. This is basically like a container in a way. Except you can hang stuff onto it, and in a container you can drop stuff into. And a container you can technically also carry around. But this one you can't. Right, so then we've got events. Actually, for this one, we don't need an event. Right. So there's the last room. The last room is the bar. So this is the interesting part. This is the room description is something we're gonna hide in the code later on. We're also having an object here, a message that is scribbled in sawdust. Whoops. Yeah, I can drag this because this is technically, you can drag this into another. Let me show that off. Or not. Oh, I might have broken that one in our last update. It doesn't look like it's actually containerized. Oh wait, never mind. There it is. Okay, now it's a... Okay, this is another thing I need to fix. But now the message would be the container, and the object in here would be the actual item that is inside the container. But we don't need that. Okay, this is also scenery. We can't pick up the message. It starts in a room. So now let's implement the details here. So while we're wearing the cloak, while the wait, this is an older version. I think I updated the code since then, actually. Let me check. I thought I had updated the code. That is interesting. I thought I'd updated the code. Just give me a sec. I have an updated version somewhere. I know I'm kind of lazy, but it's... Whoops. Okay, my computer is fundamentally spurgy right now. I had to reboot everything, and now it's just automatically opening every window when I just want to go to my storage. So yeah, I'm still fighting for the money. At my old workplace, I've had enough. Like, I have these things that I will use against my old workplace, and I'm done being like a punching bag. 38,000 is not nothing. I would be living in paradise right now. I could have supported all my friends, all my family. I wouldn't have been struggling, and all because somebody wanted to be a complete dickwad. And also wanted to be right and wanted to be, you know, they could have... I've never had an employer tell me you're not eligible, you will be thrown out of the country. What kind of sick game was that even? I really have to ask myself, what kind of sick game were they playing that they thought this was acceptable? I don't understand why they would do that. That makes no sense to me. But in any case, let's forget about this one. I found the right code. So the cloak and hook logic would work, but the thing is, it would only work if you drop it on the hook. But there's also not carried. So if we say not carried cloak, and we also say not worn cloak, then we clear the dark. Not done, so this is not done automatically. So this is kind of the logic here. And then otherwise we set dark, not done. So what basically happens here is this process is checking every time we go south from the foyer. It's gonna check, okay, are we wearing the cloak? Are we not wearing the cloak? And then it's setting darkness to either off or on. It's basically the setup. And then inside the bar, that's where the rest of the code happens. So inside the bar, so normally this is defaulting to process 4, which is run, I forgot when it's run. I think process 4 is run once. But we set it we can set it to this one. Okay. Let me see. I don't even know if that's necessary, to be honest. I guess it's necessary in case we do something. Okay. And then we're gonna use the noun. I don't even know if that will work if we... Let's actually use message, but it's possible it might actually interfere with the message. But But yeah, we check not 0 dark F. And every time it's not 0, every time it's dark, we set trampled to +1. And then we say message, you can't see anything. And then we say it's done. So this is actually what happens. Oh, that's what's happening when you examine it. X is for examine. And then we have a default handler for all other verbs, which is basically doing the same thing. But we set a different message. Blundering around in the dark isn't a good idea. You might disturb things. Not the best prose, whatever. Done. Right. So next we're gonna connect the rooms. There we go. And I think we've got all the code, if I'm not mistaken. Let's run it. Okay, message apparently works. Let's see. Cloak of Darkness by Roger Firth. DAAD port by Mark B. Press any key to continue. Hurrying through the windswept November night, you're glad to see the bright lights of the Opera House. It's surprising that there aren't more people about, but hey, what do you expect in a cheap demo game? By the way, if I sound strange, I'm temporarily deaf again. I can barely hear. It's just the stress. It's just unfair. 38,000. I know I'm repeating myself. I don't accept, like, everybody. The unemployment office tells me, oh, they can't give it to me retroactively. It was too late. It's against the law. I don't care. I don't care. What they did to me was also against the law. They let me work for free. They're a government agency that I work for. I worked for the FOITT, and I've got screenshots of them telling me they won't pay for the work I did. I spent an entire weekend working, and they didn't do it, and they didn't pay me for it. And that's what caused all of this. And they treated me absolutely like garbage. Okay, there's a problem. Visible exits. It didn't connect correctly. I've had that before. Let me see. Whoops. Sometimes it doesn't connect. Okay, now it does. Yeah, so let's check the losing condition first. So if we examine message, you can't see anything. That's correct. Even if you know there's a message, yeah. Okay, and then we go north again. Actually, let's go south. What happens? Okay, you can't see anything. So that's working as expected. So now we go west. We check our inventory. We have a cloak. We remove the cloak that we're wearing. In this engine, we can probably program it to do it, but right now it's just set to have to remove it first. So now we're carrying the cloak. Can we? Oh, we can't clear the screen. That's actually another command I should probably add to the default. This is basically the default build here. So we're we're carrying a cloak now. So we're gonna drop the cloak. Now we're carrying nothing and we're wearing nothing. So we're gonna go back east, gonna go south. And now as you can see, the bar, much rougher than you would have guessed after the opulence of the foyer to the north, is completely empty. There seems to be some sort of message scrawled in sawdust on the floor. And then when we examine the message, oh, okay, there's, let me check. I might have actually not, oh, my bad. We did not actually implement the message, did we? Right. We forgot that part. Examine message. So there's gonna be multiple handlers. First, greater than trampled 1. And then, actually, I'm gonna copy that part. I've done all of that before. Right. So this is the losing message, basically. The message has been carelessly trampled, making it difficult to read. You can just distinguish the words you have lost. Okay. And then, so this is basically an if or. It's going to check this message first. If else. It's going to check this one first, and if it's not greater than, it's going to go into the next one, which is message neatly marked as sawdust, you've won. Okay. So let's run that again. We go south again. X, X, X. North, west, drop. Oh. So this is what happens when you try to drop the cloak, but you're wearing it. So we gotta remove that first in the default implementation. It's probably something I will, for my own game, that's probably something I will change. But this is the default implementation. And of course, there's no graphics yet. I could probably draw some graphics. Generative AI. Well, probably not generative AI. Probably I have some photos I could convert. Anyhow. So if we go south now, if we check the message, still nothing. What the heck? Did I? Okay, we might have done something. Huh. So this is weird. I know it's related to this one. Let me see. I think it's missing the not 0. That's probably why. Yeah, that might actually be why. Okay, last try. South, X, north, west, remove cloak, drop cloak, east, south, examine message. Okay, there we go. The message has been carelessly trampled, making it difficult to read. You can only just distinguish the words you've lost. Let's try again. Let's actually do the winning conditions now. So we can go south, and we can actually make a mistake once. Then we go north. Then we go west. We remove the cloak. Put cloak on hook. Actually, let me show you the forehand. A small brass hook. And then when we do a put cloak on hook, and we examine it again. Oh. Or not. Okay, that's another thing I need to implement. I thought I had. Let me check. Yeah, I forgot the object code. That's why. I did it beforehand, but doing it live is not something I'm used to. Okay, so this is all our standard verb handlers. They're straight from the engine. Okay, so is at cloak hook. And here we say with a cloak hanging on it, and otherwise it's just a small brass hook. Final version, final run. Then we should be done. Go west, examine the hook, remove the cloak, put cloak on hook. Yep, brass hook with a cloak hanging on it. And then we go south again. And if we examine the message now, the message neatly marked in the sawdust reads, "You've won." There we go. So that's how simple it is. You've got objects, and then underneath the objects you've got verb handlers. I've kind of marked this, so if you have a verb handler set anywhere, it's going to have this little circle next to it. That's kind of neat. Then you have objects. So what you would normally do is you would put the objects that the starting equipment, you would just put this in the starting room, and then you just set it to worn or carried, and then just he automatically equips it during the start of the game. And then you have process 5, which is the runtime check, basically. So basically this is telling it if I go south from this room here into the bar, it's gonna do an exit check, and it's gonna set the room to dark or not dark. Actually, not the room even. It's a global flag. That's why it's implemented here, and then again here, because obviously when you go north again, you got to clear it. Otherwise, the foyer would be dark as well. We can probably show that off actually. If I remove that part. Right, so if I go south from here, now it says too dark to see anything. And now I can't even leave the room because of the logic. So yeah, you just got darkness. Yeah, that's how easy it is. We've also got little stats here, so it's compiling the database, and then we'll tell you how big the database is in terms of logic, elements, vocabulary, everything, location text, which is quite important for like the smaller platforms. So this is already using 4 kilobytes on some smaller platforms. There's MSX now, there's ZX Spectrum 128. Yeah. I've also got a way to compile it to HTML. It will just save the database out there. And all the image files as well. So you can put this on a website quite easily just by dropping the files into a web server. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna release soon. This is what OceanThrill Murder Mystery is written in as well. I don't know if it... Initially, I thought I would make this my first and last DAAD game, because initially it was really difficult to write a DAAD game. The syntax is not that great compared to like something like Zilf, the Z machine. But it turns out it's with this kind of new IDE, it's quite manageable. I've had this IDE in the works since 2019, and then I kind of froze it, and now I found the kind of the motivation to work on it again. Next week I'm causing hell for people. I really want that money so I can work on things in peace. I've mentioned it before, but I would have received 100,000 over 20 months in unemployment. I was eligible for it. Now I'm eligible for 12 months. So that's quite the cutback. And I've already lost 7 months as well. So I've lost a lot, and I'm not going to take it. I was new in the country. They scared me. They told me, oh, you've only been here for 2 months. Don't apply for unemployment. I actually still did. I still tried. And on the phone, somebody told me I wasn't eligible based on the false information, which is another thing. They should have just told me, provide us your social security. Why didn't they just do that? They could have seen that I've worked abroad before for a Swiss company. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know the details. I know you need to know the rules normally. But also, I was in a really bad situation. I just moved here and I lost my job instantly almost. I was bullied by my former co-workers. I'd lost my mom and my cat last year. This job was literally the worst choice of my entire life. Like, it was heaven at first, and I really thought, oh, cool, finally working for the Swiss government, job security, and all that stuff. And it turned out hell because of people leaving, some individual bullying everybody else. He was having his multiple vacations a year, and he was like getting pissed if he had to work even a day before his vacation, which we all have to do. I mean, it's the day before your vacation, you still have to work. And he bullied the rest of us, and he bullied me really hard. I suspect he also bullied the other person that left, that was supposed to actually show me around, my original supervisor. But yeah, I'm not letting this fly this time. 38,000 could have really changed my life, and now I'm in a situation where I own my health insurance 7,000 that I can't pay. It's not gonna happen. I'm not letting this ruin my life. I have things. The Swiss government, at least this particular agency, had such lax security, and I would gladly expose them to the rest of the world if that gets me my money. Anyhow, I'm gonna show off some more DAAD related content, some more Scum related content, and this weekend I'm gonna work on finalizing the demo for OceanThrill Murder Mystery. So fingers crossed. See you.